Call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the March 5th meeting. Does everybody have an opportunity to read over those?
Yes, sir. I approve the meetings from March 5th, 2024.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. This case has been coming along for quite some time. So we've had several meetings, but I'll just start out again before we proceed with the hearing. I'll ask the planning commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from the hearing, discussing or voting on the case because they have relatives that own property or they own property in a notification area and have a conflict of interest.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll let the minutes show that Jenny Jones has disqualified herself because she owns property within a notification area. I do declare that we have a quorum present. I'd like to also ask the attending public to read through the ground rules provided for this public hearing, and if anybody has not signed in, I'd suggest that you please do. Okay, according to the recording secretary, a notice for this hearing was published in the official newspaper Tri-County Tribune on March 6th, 2024. In addition, notices were mailed to the applicants and to 11 real property owners of record in the area of notification, March 6th, 2024. The record shows that at least 20 days have elapsed between the publication and the mailing dates and this hearing date. Although we do not encourage such communications, I will ask the commission if any of them have received any ex parte verbal or written communications prior to this hearing. If so, please share them with all the members of this commission. None? Okay. Pam is sick this evening, and so Laura is taking over. I don't know that, we don't have a specific report per se. She left us with the items basically from the last meeting, and nothing's really changed from that.
Can you speak up, please? I'm so sorry, but please.
I wish we had a microphone system here. Anyway, we have the applicant are here. Would you like to say anything on behalf of this request?
I just want to say I appreciate your consideration for the special use permit for the building at 420 North Main, so that we might stay there, live there.
Right. At our last meeting, it was to review a request for rezoning from R1 from downtown commercial to R1. We discussed that, and we actually did vote on it, and it was a 2-2 tie with one abstention. So it did not go through. But we also basically after the fact had discussed that there were some concerns about the property across the street where the old hotel was, and there was some concern that might have been zoned commercial at one time. But city staff had went through their records and was not able to find any maps or any ordinances that specifically said that was ever commercial. If it had been, there would have been concern about creating a spot zone. So we didn't pursue that any farther. But we did, reverse, what's the term I'm looking for?
Rescind.
It's on here.
Rescind.
To rescind. So we did rescind that vote from the public hearing so that this board can discuss this rezoning case, or in this particular case, a special use. So that brings us to what we're going to be talking about this evening. So at this time, I will open up the public hearing portion and ask if there's any members of the public who wish to speak on this case. And state your name and address if you wish to speak on this
Are
matter.
we allowed to ask questions?
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on, I mean, are you gonna be asking questions of to the applicant? Or,
To this,
Yeah.
to you.
we'll see how it goes.
Okay, I'm Tammy Raines, and I'm curious, you sent out 11 letters to, or you said 11 property owners within the zone. If you heard back from all of those, how many were opposed, how many weren't?
I don't know that, we have not received any information, but that doesn't mean that after this meeting is over, that's where the protest comes in.
Okay.
So anybody on that notification list would be able to sign a protest if they're against our decision. So at this point in time, the decision hasn't been made, so I don't imagine anybody would have anything to say about it until after this meeting was over.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments, statements? I know it's all, we've all talked about this before, so I guess it's really nothing new. So, and we have heard your remarks in the past, and, okay. If there aren't any more, I guess my next question will be, if there were any written communication or petitions from the public. I think we answered that. The applicant doesn't have any response to anything that was said because nothing was said this evening, so you don't have to respond.
No.
What I'd like to say is that we're reviewing a special use permit this evening. And I just wanted to mention here, and this is under, Article, what was it? Hang on a minute. It's Article 2, Section 101 in our subdivision regulations that pertain to special uses. And basically what they're requesting is to be able to live in this structure while it is still zoned downtown commercial. And I think that's, I would consider that a compromise, that with that in mind, that zoning would remain the same and we would allow them to live in this structure. It's no longer a church. It is a structure which they have, from our previous meetings, we required that it meets minimum housing codes. And they have done a lot of work to it, and the city inspectors have gone through and looked at it and have stated that it does meet minimum housing codes. A single residential zone is the most restrictive regulation in our subdivisions regulations. Stricter than what a downtown commercial zone would be, based on bulk regulations, things like side yards. A commercial zone building can build right up next to the property line and completely fill in the whole property, just like the rest of our downtown, buildings. In a residential zone, we have setbacks and we have off-street parking requirements and, no outside storage, so there are some restrictions. And I would, consider that in this special use scenario, that as long as they're using it as a residential, then we follow the residential regulations and not the commercial. But at some point in time in the future, if they ever choose to sell it, and move, or whatever, it would revert back to the commercial zone. And the subdivision regulation states here that no special use approval by the governing body shall be valid for a period longer than 1 year from the publication date of the ordinance. But the governing body may authorize extensions of the validity period without notice or public hearing for more than 1 year upon written request. I think the reason that's in there is that if something would happen or there's a violations, that the city council can review that to see where we stand as far as that special use. And, so, you know, again, this is my opinion that I believe that this is the best way to go. And, that would also give us some time to talk about, protective overlay zones. I've identified 5 residential structures within the downtown commercial zone. Now, they're all grandfathered in, they were built well before zoning ever existed, but they're still in that commercial zone. And I bet you there's probably not too many of those people who own those houses even know that they're in the downtown commercial zone. It's a house, you know, and so and they're living, and probably abiding by any residential requirements that we have. But with that said, you know, people buy and sell and move and make changes. Someone could go in, there's 2 houses right over here. They could move out, sell the property, and someone can go in and use that as a commercial use as long as they meet the commercial requirements of electrical, plumbing, handicap accessible, things like that. So yes, it's a residential house, but it's zoned downtown commercial. So with a protective overlay zone, what we would do, it wouldn't change anything, but we would identify those in our zoning regulation or our zoning map to let everybody know that those properties are zoned in the downtown commercial area. And including the property that we're discussing now. So that, you know, again, that's my opinion as far as what we should do in approving this special use. I've said enough, so I mean, if there's anybody else on the commission who would like to ask questions or make any comments concerning this. Any?
I don't have any.
Okay. We have any feeling one way or the other about making a motion to approve or deny this request?
I'll make it.
Okay, I just wanna add, you know, in making that motion, if we do that, I mean, we wanna make sure that it meets residential requirements in all respects. Both regulations, side yards, you know, if they wanna put up a fence, they have to come in and get a permit. We probably do need to require them to move the vehicle from the front yard, which shouldn't be a problem. There's plenty of room on the side yard to do that. So if that's a concern, and that's totally up to you, whoever would like to make a motion.
special use permit, providing they meet all the requirements for residential.
Okay. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So it would be, 4 in favor, 1 abstention. This will, okay, did you already mention that when it was going to be scheduled for city council?
I had that, I believe it was the 16th. Yes, April 16th.
Okay,
The protesting period will end on April 9th.
okay. So yes, if there's anybody that wants to protest, we do have a form. You can get that, that's available here. And just make sure that we get that submitted, prior to the city council meeting. Because we do have to review the proper percentages of, the proper notification. Okay. We don't have anything else scheduled. I would like to, get back on our standard meeting time, which is the last Monday of the month, so that would be April what? Does anybody have that?
You said the last Monday,
Yes, the last Monday of the
so
month.
April 29th.
Okay, so we'll be meeting again on April 29th, and I think at that time, I would like to start discussing the, protective overlay zone. And like I say, it's not gonna change anything, we just look at it, make sure that it's identified, and people are aware that they're in that zone. Okay, anybody care to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
A second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?